Good morning, everyone. So good to see you all. It's great to be with you this morning. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the First Nations and Native American peoples. So I know here where I am in Vancouver, those peoples are the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. But many of you are on the land of other nations. So if you'd like, please feel free to write those nation names in the chat. Always, let's just remember our connection to our siblings in these nations and pray for the day in which we might be with them in right relationship. So welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own homes. Please bring who you are in with you. But what you are asked to remember is that everyone around you has brought who they are in with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. Let's sing.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lovers of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lovers of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. Wonderful as always. So I have a few announcements before we get going. The first is that a few of us met last week and we put together a schedule for our services for this coming year. So that's very fun. I think you could see that in the email I sent out. If not, I will put a link to where I have that on the website. So you can check it out there. We have lots of fun services coming up. I think it'll be the Mahayana New Year will be next in January, which I'll be preaching. So that should be good. Who knows what I will say? Have to figure it out between now and then. And then we have a service in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. And then I think we have one for the Shinto Bean Throwing Festival. That sounds very fun. I know nothing about that. I'm looking forward to learning. And some other ones along the way. So if you're interested, you can check them out there. It should be very fun. Tomorrow, Sufi Dances for Universal Peace will be meeting at 7 p.m. in North Vancouver, for those of you who are local. They'll be meeting at the Presentation House Theatre at 3rd Street and Chesterfield Ave. And that's a really wonderful group. If you've ever been interested, it's folk dances and then phrases and prayers from all different faith traditions and coming together and dancing them together. So it's kind of like a joint body prayer. It's really quite beautiful. So if you're interested, that'll be tomorrow night, 7 p.m. in North Van. St. Monica's Parish will be celebrating its 75th anniversary on Friday, December 30th. That'll be in person at 7 p.m. with all the other faith traditions on number 5 Road in Richmond. So for those who are local, they know that area is called the Highway to Heaven because you have temples and churches and synagogues and gurdwaras all right next to each other in one area. So that's going to be a big celebration for the church there. So that should be very fun. That's in person on Friday, December 30th at 7 p.m. And all are welcome to attend. And then finally, I mailed many of you multi-faith calendars, but if you didn't get one and you're interested, I still have some at the house. So I'd be happy to send it to you. So it's very fun. And they have about 500, I think it's between 450 and 500 special occasions and holidays and information about all of these holidays from across, I think it's 14 faith traditions. So it's really quite lovely. So if you're interested, just let me know and I'll send you one. So I think that's all my announcements. Does anyone have any other announcements they'd like to share now? Okay, well, let's come into silence. So I have a prayer from Congregation Beth El. We gather in the chill of winter solstice, finding warmth with each other, nourishing hope where reason fails, grateful for small miracles. We rejoice in the wonder of light and darkness and the daring of hope. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You made us holy with your commandments and called us to kindle the Hanukkah lights. You perform miracles for our ancestors in days of old in this season. You've kept us alive. You've sustained us. You've brought us to this moment. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlek ner shel Chanukah. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy through your commandments and commands us to light these Hanukkah lights. Amen. And now if you'll join me in a passing of the peace. Peace, everyone. So wonderful being with you.
Peace.
to all.
Shalom. Salam alaikum.
Assalamu
Peace
alaikum.
to all.
Peace,
Peace
everyone.
to and love to all of you.
Oh, welcome, open hearts.
Peace.
Oh, yes, peace and comfort.
Thank you. And when you're ready, let's sing.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And now if you'll join me in our joint affirmation. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek. And let it begin here. Thank you. Now is when we usually pray in our own homes and in our own ways. There are always so many things that call to us, so many peoples and causes that need our prayers, especially during this time of year, which many find quite difficult for a variety of reasons. Earlier this week, I was reading reports of migrant boats that had made it to Italy and also to the UK, but also those that had sunk along the way. And they were trying to figure out about how many migrants had been lost. And then I was also reading about the migrants in Qatar who had helped build the stadium and prepare everything for the big World Cup. This big cause for celebration, and then how they were mistreated working in Qatar and also weren't even able to watch any of the matches that they'd done so much work to prepare for because they couldn't afford the tickets. So I think if we could spend some time thinking about migrants and sending them our prayers, those looking for a better life, those needing a better life, just keep them in our hearts right now. Let's take a few moments to pray. Thank you. When you're ready, let's sing.
Ma'ustur Yeshuati Lechana El Shameach Tikon Betefilati V'sham Dodani Sameach Leitachin Mateach Mitzaram
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So now is when I usually say that if we met in person, I'd pass around a basket. In lieu of that, I'm just going to put our donation page in the chat. And I just really want to thank all of you who donated so much this last year, and for many of you for several years, supporting us and keeping this community growing and thriving. And I'm just so grateful to all of you, to Bruce and Cheryl for all the music they bring in every time in different languages, every single time. I don't know how they do it. They're so ridiculously talented. I don't know what we do without them. And all of you, I'm just so grateful. And Dan for his work helping connect with all of you. This last year, he started the community nurture team. It's so lovely. And I'm so grateful to Dan for that. And for Sandy and Dolores, who I know are both on this call, who are on the board, and for all their help in guiding us. So I'm just grateful to all of you. So thank you. And also, I know if you do have a little bit extra funds this time of year, which may be kind of challenging, I want to lift up Doctors Without Borders as a really important cause to help support them, especially with there being so much illness around the world right now. Any support their way would be wonderful. And also the Indian Residential School Survivor Society to support them during this time of year would be great. So thank you. Are there any other causes that we want to lift up at this time that need our support and donations? Okay, that's okay. If you think of any, feel free to put them in the chat. And otherwise, when you're ready, Bruce and Cheryl have a song for us.
From you I receive, to you I give.
Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Wonderful. Okay, now it's my joy and pleasure to turn it over to my mentor and dear, dear friend, Reverend Stephen. I've known Stephen for 12 years now. We've worked together most of that time. And he's the founder of this model that we're based off, Living Interfaith, the author of many books, one of which he's finishing now. And it's always such a pleasure being with him, hearing his jokes. And I'm looking forward to hearing his message this morning. So Stephen, over to you.
Thank you, Kathy, and good morning, all. Hanukkah may not be the most pivotal of Jewish holy days, but it's likely the most universally known. It lasts 8 nights with an additional candle added every night. In Judaism, the traditional menorah, the Jewish candelabra, has 7 candles, but there's a special menorah just for Chanukah with room for 8 candles plus the shamash, the special candle used to light the others. Hanukkah also has a hero, Judah the Maccabee, the military leader about whom Friedrich Handel wrote an oratorio right after writing his world-famous Messiah. That said, what is Hanukkah truly about? I take Hanukkah seriously, light candles, ponder the holiday, and offer prayers all 8 nights. But it wasn't always that way. In truth, in my 74 years and counting, Hanukkah for me has never seemed to stand still. How I see it keeps changing. This morning, I'd like to share that odyssey with you. When I was a child, I loved Hanukkah. Candles, songs, gifts, most especially gifts. What's not to like? But when I got a little older, Hanukkah changed dramatically for me. When I was maybe 9 or 10, I put my foot down and refused to celebrate it anymore. Now, this is the place to say that the older I get, the more respect, compassion, and even sympathy I have for my parents. I must have been a difficult child to raise, yet they never abandoned me, for which I am grateful. Still, when I was about age 9 or 10, it was explained to me that at Hanukkah, we celebrate a great miracle. We light 8 candles over 8 nights because a lamp with oil enough just for 1 night burned instead for 8. Say what? Assuming that the miracle happened, why would this be a reason for massive celebration over 2,000 years later? It just didn't make sense. Then I became a teenager, and Hanukkah changed again. It felt to me now that the miracle was simply an excuse for giving kids presents, so that Jewish children wouldn't feel left out of the commercialized Christmas when all the Christian kids got gifts. This was amplified by the fact that at our house we had a Hanukkah bush, not a Christmas tree. It felt to me like this was just out of control commercialism. And worse, Hanukkah wasn't even part of the Hebrew scripture. The story is found in the Apocrypha, not the Bible. This commercialized Hanukkah, this, I have to go Hanukkah shopping. And what did you get for Hanukkah? Truly appalled me. This feeling lasted through college and beyond. In truth, I didn't take Hanukkah seriously for decades. Then at last, I was moved to ignore the commercialism and gasp, actually read the history. So I researched the historical events that led to Hanukkah. They're important. I'd like to share them. They are why today I deeply value and celebrate this holy time. Some 200 years BCE, Antiochus III of Syria wrested Judea from Egyptian control. Now, in those days, Judea was a political football. To get to Africa from the Middle East or to the Middle East from Africa, all roads led through Judea. It was about trade. It was all about trade. Whoever controlled Judea controlled the trade between the Middle East and Africa. And whoever controlled these crucial routes could charge hefty taxes, fees, to anyone seeking to use them. Money. Money. The Egyptians had simply wanted to control the trade, the roads. How Jews worshipped was never an issue, just as long as it didn't interfere with collecting taxes and fees. Then Syria swept in and pushed Egypt out. Syria now controlled trade. Now, Syria's ruler, Antiochus III, wasn't so much of a problem, but his son and successor, Antiochus IV, had this idea of civilizing the Jews. Specifically, he wanted to Hellenize them. And that meant insisting that Jews worship the Greek gods in Greek temples and not their one God at their Jerusalem temple. The Jerusalem temple was now looted, all but destroyed. More than that, the practice of Judaism was outlawed. To be Jewish was against the law. A priest named Mattathias led a rebellion against the oppression, and his son, Judah, became known as Judah the Hammer, the Maccabee. He took it to the Syrians and beat them over and over again. And depending on how you choose to read history, either the Syrians were defeated and thrown out of Judea, or the Syrians realized that Judea was just more trouble than it was worth, and Syria withdrew. They went home. But whatever the reason, Syria was gone. Judea was free. Now, soon Rome would invade, conquer Judea, and find itself in control of the trade routes. But for the moment, Judea was free. And more important, Jews could again practice their religion in their own rebuilt temple. Hallelujah. To be Jewish was no longer illegal. This, of course, is the short version. The full history was more complex and political. Still, it occurred to me profoundly that though we should always remember that most of history goes unrecorded, that this was the first time in recorded history that a conquered people revolted because they sought the right to worship as they felt called. As I realized this, Chanukah became truly sacred to me. This was indeed something important to remember and to celebrate. This morning, we seek to honor Chanukah in all its complexity. We want to honor the joy of Chanukah. We want to acknowledge the tradition of the miracle of Chanukah, that the temple that Antiochus IV had trampled and thought he had destroyed, there was found enough purified oil to relight the sacred lamp for one night. Now, Jewish ritual demanded 7 days to properly sanctify oil before burning it in the lamp. And miraculously, that small bit of sacred oil that should only have lasted one night lasted for 8, long enough for fresh oil to be properly purified and then burned. But for me, most particularly, may we honor what is so foundational to us as an interfaith congregation: the right of every human to worship or not as he or she is called, and to be respected in that choice. This morning, as we look around us and as we saw in the joys and sorrows earlier, with the rise of anti-Semitism and the rise of Islamophobia, as well as the rise of so much intolerance and hate, let us take a moment to light a candle and celebrate a religious freedom and pray that the world might someday celebrate a universal Chanukah. Now, I'd like to close with Peter, Paul, and Mary singing Peter Yarrow's song, Light One Candle. It's as if he wrote it not only with the universal Chanukah in mind, but somehow with all that's happening today. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain we learned so long ago. The tall young man you'll see represents the shamash, the special candle that lights all the others. As interfaithers, we are guardians of the light for all. For all. Never has there been a higher calling or a more difficult one. Don't let the light go out. Happy Hanukkah. Amen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephen. It was such a beautiful message and so important. And now I'm going to play the song Light One Candle.
The children that you're seeing coming out now to share this song with us are very much a part of this song. We sing this tonight as a promise to you that we will dedicate ourselves in song and in heart to not letting the light go out, to continuing the sense of our commitment to justice in a world in which we need you to remind us and us to sing with this song and in our hearts, light one candle. Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. And light one candle for the pain they endured, when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. Light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. And light one candle for those who are suffering pain we learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, let anger not tear us apart. And light one candle to bind us together, for peace as the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our dreams. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears.
What is the memory that's valued so highly that we keep it light in that flame? What's the commitment to those who've died? We cry out they've not died in vain. We have come this far, always believing that justice will somehow prevail. This is the burden, this is the promise, this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, don't let the light go out, don't let the light go out.
Beautiful. Thank you for that recommendation, Stephen. That's so wonderful. And also, Bruce and Cheryl have one final song for us. And this is a song that was written by Stephen called Living Interfaith. And it's on the same theme. So when you're ready, over to you, Bruce and Cheryl.
This is for you, Stephen.
So you are a Muslim. person talking to you. Christian and human is stared in a fight with emphatic pronouncements on who's really right. For thousands of years we've accepted the rot that some are beloved while others are not. We've taught to our children with unending grief that in life there can only be one true belief. Respecting each other is only a start. Compassion is more than a casual art. Our mind's pretty useless, cut off from the heart. If we can't come together, we'll all fall apart. Some preach toleration, but what is that song? Smiling at folks you believe wrong. After all of this time, are we really that sure of who's messed it up and who's saintly and pure? Respecting each other is only a start. Compassion is more than a casual art. Our mind's pretty useless, cut off from the heart. If we can't come together, we'll all fall apart. Jesus, Mohammed, and Moses, it's true. The Buddha, Black Elk, and Baha'u'llah too taught what counts in this life are the actions we do, and to do unto folks as you wish they do you. Respecting each other is only a start. Compassion is more than a casual art. Our mind's pretty useless, cut off from the heart. If we can't come together, we'll all fall apart. If we can't come together, we'll all fall apart.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. They just learned that in the last 2 weeks. So wonderful. And thank you to Stephen for writing that. I think you can all see why Stephen's been my spiritual leader for the last 12 years. I think it's pretty clear. So with his preaching and his writing and his songwriting, and it was just such a joy being with you and learning from you, Stephen. Thank you. And going forward, let's celebrate Hanukkah. Let's keep the light going, keep the hope and this work burning in the world, letting people know that we'll always stand up for their right to believe and worship however they wish. And just know that we're all in this together, that all of our faith traditions can support one another and not be in opposition. So thank you and happy Hanukkah.